Hey, what's up, Mafias? Welcome back to the commute. And in this video, I'm joined by Ishaan Jain. He works as an engineering manager in LikeMinds. So there'll be a lot of things that he will be telling you how to climb the career stairs to become an engineering manager and how he did it. And he'll be sharing a lot of tips around working in and around of industry of app development and also how to crack interviews as an Android developer. So there'll be a lot of things to discuss, and it will be an interesting podcast. Hopefully, you guys really enjoy it. And if you did, you know what to do: like, share, subscribe. And for now, let's get started. So, before I start off this podcast, I usually ask this one particular question: how do you define stable life for yourselves?
Okay. So you just start, I guess. Should I
Yeah, yeah,
answer?
yeah. Just
Okay. Okay. So in my view, the stable life will be like a perfect balance between work and my post-work life. So well, like it's a 9 to 5 job. So I do a 9 to 5 job, and then after that I have plenty of time for my extracurricular works. Like I like to play games. I like to study new things or like watch series and like that. So a stable life for me will be like a perfect balance between work and non-working things, non-work related things.
mm, I get it. I try to actually ask this particular question to everyone that I bring on to this podcast because I try to understand what do they prioritize more often, even after it's their work, or maybe why do they work even, because a lot of founders will value money and maybe freedom over anything else, and maybe employers value money over freedom. Depends upon how they're seeing their life in general and where the decisions are headed. And that's why I try to just ask this particular question in general. So what's your story? Like, how did you get started in like Android development? I've seen your LinkedIn a little bit, and you have come to the position of engineering manager in general. How do you come from like starting out from college? Why did you choose app development in general and got to the position where you are?
Okay, I started my engineering in 2017, and when I was in IP University in CSE. So the first year, I like in my school days, I know C++ and C and a bit of competitive coding. Now, when I come to college, like I wanted to learn a new language. So, and that time I was like, let's learn Java. So I start in my first year, I learned Java. Now, when I Java was completed, I know basic like bit of DS and everything. Now then comes like what I can do. So when I explored some things like this, so the job by just doing Java, either you like at the time I was a very less knowledge. So I was like I was able to do a few algorithms, but there were no like there is a wow factor like now, when you code something and immediately show up on your screen with the output like I
Mm-hmm.
have done this. So that was the Java was not giving that wow factor to me because it was just a simple algorithm giving you the
Mm-hmm.
sorting and everything. So now when I've learned Java, like I explored like what new thing I can learn. So when I
Mm-hmm.
came to the part like I can learn Android development, and that was like a trigger for me. Like if I code a simple piece of app, now I can see and run it on my phone. So that was a wow factor to me. Like I have done this. So then I second year I didn't do that much. I just started like learned implementing Java and only. Now when the third year came, the break between the second year and the third year, so I joined an institute as Coding Blocks in Delhi, India. So that teaches code Android development in a 2 to 3 months course.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned that, and from that, I learned building how apps from very beginnings to advanced ones, like complete local database and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So by that, I was able to build apps and everything. So from that, the app development craze for app development came.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the third year came, so now it was like a trigger. Now the third year has come. Like let's do something. So from third year, I started going to bit of on every hackathon which I was. So I formed a team in within with my friends, and we used to go on every hackathon possible. Like on every month, we used to go 2 to 3 hackathons.
Mm-hmm.
And then the COVID came when I was like 20. Yeah, then 2020 the COVID came. So at the time when I was home, so then was like let's do some internships and all. So I started an internship at a startup as Red Carpet Up. That was a fintech platform, fintech. startup which used to provide credit cards to college students and all. So I
Mhm.
did a 6 months internship with those. From that, I was sure like I want to build a career in Android development itself.
Mhm.
Now then the whole COVID goes, and now when my graduation got completed, the engineering, then I joined LikeMinds. Just after, like it was a case like I joined LikeMind in May. My final year's exams were in June.
Mhm.
So it was like I've joined LikeMinds before my graduation was complete. I gave my final exams while doing a full-time employee.
Mhm.
So and then I joined LikeMinds. So that time, LikeMinds were a B2C company. They were used to have an app on their end. So I joined LikeMinds as a junior most developer in the team.
Mhm.
So at the time, the team was of 4 developers. One junior most, I was the junior most. There were 2 mid devs and one team lead.
Mhm.
So that time I joined LikeMinds. So yeah, that's my story. Like how I came to like start developing apps. Since then, I'm being in LikeMinds only.
Mhm.
Later on, after 1.5 years, I became the team lead for Android, and
Mhm.
1.5 years later, I became the engineering manager for LikeMinds.
I get it.
So that's the story.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot of developers who started off in Android development or app development in general, what they start off is they are more of visual learners because they want to build something in public, and they start building something and they want to build this app and they have this app idea and they have no idea how to code it. They get into maybe Android or iOS, and that's how they started off their careers. And I've seen this general flow in others as well. For me as well, when I started, I got hooked by game development in general because I loved games and I to know how you can make games in Android in general, and that's how I came across Kotlin and other things as well. And yeah, that's how I got into app industry. And I guess similarly for everyone. As for the engineering manager, like I think a lot of people do not understand what engineering manager actually does. So can you describe your role more often, how people can see it?
So I tell you. So first of all, like I told you earlier, in my like in the previous thing, Likewise was used to be a B2C app.
Mm-hmm.
Now in the mid of like 2020, 2021, 2022, I would say we pivoted to an SDK business.
Mm-hmm.
So now Likemans is a infra tool for chat and feed, and we are an SDK platform, not an app platform.
Mm-hmm.
So Likemines now, as we into come into SDK, so we have SDKs for all the 5 stacks: Android,
Mm-hmm.
iOS, Flutter, React, and React Native.
Mm-hmm.
So as a role as a engineering manager here at LikeMinds, my role is like my day-to-day job will be managing the whole 5 teams. I mostly look after the front end side.
Mm-hmm.
There is a different manager for backend. So I mostly look after the backend side, front end side of the SDKs. Like how will the SDK will interact in the front end thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I manage the team. I have like all the developers in the front end team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm managing the team, like what their tasks will be doing. If there are any blockers, I have to resolve them from the different team, like product, backend, or infra team, or any other things. So that is one of the roles. The second role is like annihilating, assigning the tasks, and managing the releases. Like what will the release go,
Mm-hmm.
and how the things will go, like what will the things and any blockers and all. And
Mm-hmm.
second, like the architecture side of the SDK, like how will the SDK will be constructed, like how which type of params will be accepted, or like how will be the whole flow of data will be there in the SDK so that there is no blocker in the customer side.
Mm-hmm.
Since our SDK is completely customizable, so like you can customize the whole UI,
Mm-hmm.
icon, font, and everything through using params. So
Mm-hmm.
you just set a param from the top of the layer, from top to bottom, all the things will be customized. So designing the whole architecture and like doing ongoing enhancements and everything, that is a part of my job. Like
Mm-hmm.
how to construct those and how to architect those.
Mm-hmm.
For that, I write EDs, like make flow diagrams and write pseudocodes kind of thing and give to the team. So that is my one of the like major part of the role. Right.
Mm-hmm. It's more of a like an intersection between a business and engineering. That's what I can
Kind
call.
of a thing. Now that is that the first, but the second part is thus I work also as a solution engineer for customers, the sales part of the thing. So
Mm-hmm.
since I know the whole architecture and design and everything, So when a customer comes to us, like when everything is the deal is signed and all. So when a customer comes to us, my role is like to solve how our SDK will solve their requirements. So how the SDK will be molded, like what params the customer will send, or any other new feature we want to build. That I take part of it, and I divide the task into the team. So I work as a solution engineer as well in that way. So kind of that which you said, like I act a bridge between the business and the engineering, and include product as well in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So
I get
that
it.
that's my major role. But now obviously, like I don't stop coding as well. So
Mm-hmm.
any major task which comes in Android, I do code that. But that is a very minimal. Like I would say in a sprint, like I would have 40% bandwidth for coding only. Rest
Mm-hmm.
of the bandwidth goes with this type of tasks.
Mm-hmm. I guess as you go to higher and higher levels, the less you prone to become less prone to coding, but rather managing things and seeing more of a business side as compared to just coding. Um, I guess this
But
goes for every higher position out there.
correct. But I would like there were certain times which I figured out like I was not coding at all. In any sprint, I was not coding.
Mm-hmm.
So what I observed is like in terms of managing stuff, I was getting up like on a back foot. Like I was not knowing the latest trends. Like
Mm-hmm.
I like grasp on logics and I was getting loose. So
Mm-hmm.
that way I have like in one of my feedbacks which I gave to my senior managers also that I want to code, which will help me being a better engineering manager. Like I want to do that. So considering those, from that point of time I made sure that I code, even if I have a very small piece of thing, I have to code. That
Mm-hmm.
will like it will keep me up to the trend and up to the mark with the latest things, and I can manage better.
Mm-hmm. I get it. It's a good balance between coding as well as managing.
Yes.
Like how do you even choose a task like for yourselves? Like I've seen that most of the like tech leads or managers try to assign those tasks to junior engineers or engineers in general who have a very good track record of doing things, and they are very strong in one point, and other candidate might be strong in another point, and you try to distribute these tasks to these individuals according to their strong points. How do you choose your the task for your own self? Like how do you do that?
Okay, for my own, like if I have to pick for like for let me give you an example. So as since I told you we are in chart and feed SDK.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a feature we need to integrate where we need to add a completely new architecture into a SDK, like which we were introducing sockets. So
Mm-hmm.
we were introducing web sockets from our own real time infra, not relying on a third party to our SDKs. So
Mm-hmm.
when and it was picked to be very first time in the whole all the five stars. So these type of tasks where a bit of experimentation is also required, and there will be a back and forth between front end and a back end
Mm-hmm.
team. So that type of task I'll pick for myself. Like for example, like I told you the real time thing. So there
Mm-hmm.
will be certain things where I need to get it changed from backend. Like this response is not coming right. This key should be present. So when the whole thing is to and fro is done, then I give assign to the task. So the
Mm-hmm.
where it comes a bit of we have to give some POCs, do some POCs or do some experimentation. That type of task I'll pick for myself,
Mm-hmm.
where I need to understand the whole architecture of the things, and
Mm-hmm.
then I construct the way to be implemented in all five SDK stacks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that is why we like these type of tasks I pick for myself.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Like what I've understood from your response would be that if you have a lot of you act like a bridge between SD1, SD2, and someone who from a different team altogether, might be authentication, might be someone else, and whenever the some of the basic stuff, the basic layout of that particular task is done, it becomes more specialized task than it is assigned to SD to SD3s maybe
Correct.
somewhere down
In
the
that,
line.
yeah, in that way, yes, correct.
Okay. Like one more thing, like I think engineering manager itself is a big, responsibility overall. I've seen that being an SD1 myself, I'm not more like close to your experience. How do you get to the level of engineering manager? Like, how do you define the difference in the skills of a SD1 compared to an engineering manager?
So what I would say, like the difference in the skills is like I was also at SD1 when I started out. So
Mm-hmm.
an SD1 is more focused towards his task only. Like I am assigned a task, I have to complete it and I will deliver it. Now that kind we as we call it as an IC task. It is
Mm-hmm.
dependent on himself only. Like if he doesn't interact to the whole team for the whole day, that would not make any difference.
Mm-hmm.
Now when you grow, you also have to like add some managing skills towards yourself, like how you
Mm-hmm.
will manage a particular person, like the team, like time with allocations, and like how will you manage your time, how will you manage your persons who you are managing.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, now currently I'm managing a team of, I would say, around 7 8 developers,
Mm-hmm.
including all the 5 stacks. In this 2 3 are interns and rest of them are full times. So
Mm-hmm.
considering that, like I have to manage the times for everything. So there comes the skills that we call as soft skills. They're not more of a technical skills, which I would say, like how you manage the time. Like your time is also crucial. Like how much time you can dedicate managing and your IC tasks, and like their time as well. Like you have to know that this developer takes for this much amount extras will take Y time.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you have to like do and like observing the people and matlab those soft skills are very much required between an SD1 and an EM.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it's what I've got from your responses. It's much more accountability when you are engineering manager, because you have more accountability towards the whole team as well as the goal for the company as well, because you want to align the whole team for one single goal and try to make sure that everyone is motivated towards it and actually working towards releasing the product that you want to actually release. Because I think SD1s and SD2s do not understand the whole picture of the product and how is it going in the business sense. But engineering manager has to manage that, a drawbridge between how businesses people would be interacting with the final product in hand, and that's where the engineering manager role comes in. That's what I think, at least.
Yeah, these all accountability observations, I would call them as soft skills. They are not like technical skills with a developer, and by time an SD1 or an SD2 will get those skills by seeing his or her junior or senior, I would say.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. I
like
get it.
like for example now, I've like training one developer who is now like very was very good in his IC task, well performed very well in his task. Now I'm training him like how we structure SDKs and writing good architecture and being like I can divide my task to him
Mm-hmm.
as well. So we are like, so I'm training one of the developers like that way. So
Mm-hmm.
in that way, he's learning those soft skills like accountability and the observations and everything.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Like, drawing the difference between SD1 and engineering manager, I think so. There's a lot of scope to learn for SD1, because um, day by day, if you get to the close to the level of maybe a tech lead or engineering manager, you become more and more accountable here and there. Have you seen some kind of skill that like SD1 or SD2 has that you didn't have, and like while observing and while playing out with your team members?
I didn't get your question. Can you repeat?
um like um like I wanted to ask that did you find someone super interesting in your team that you felt like, oh, this skill is something that I should have? Did you have did you meet someone in your team right now, it's a bear in your career overall?
Yeah, I have met 2 3 kind of devs. Like I would say more of like a patience game, I would say. So
Mm-hmm.
it's more like a personality development thing which you do. So and me, like while I was being an like converting from an like a tech SD1 to a tech lead then an EM. So
Mm-hmm.
being those, like I need, like you need to learn 2 3 more skills which require some like to be in that position. Like when you achieve that position, you need to something. So there are
Mm-hmm.
times where a certain skills, or I would say a quality which I learned from my junior devs as well,
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like I would say like patience, and,
Mm-hmm.
and like being calm at certain moments, and these type of skills. So
Mhm.
these skills are also very important, like being when you come at a managerial position.
Mhm.
So I have like learned two, three of the skills from my junior devs,
Mhm.
like to do those, to
Mhm.
achieve those.
Mhm. I get it. I get it. Um, do you have like a like in your general flow of like working? Do you use AI a lot, like
Yeah,
as GPT and other stuff?
yeah. So like in yeah, like from past 2 3 months we have started now. Earlier
Mhm.
we avoid to use that because of the like hallucinations a lot. So
Mhm.
now what we are like, since the AI is also involved and we have also like came to knowledge. So we most of the like, since we are in SDK we have to write documentations as well for each and
Mhm.
every function we have. So for
Mhm.
those things we use AI. We
Mhm.
have built custom GPT builders
Mhm.
from ChatGPT, and for each stack we have those. We have trained those GPT builders upon the code base which we have,
Mhm.
and every time we release a few things, that builder generates the docs for
Mhm.
those we added to the release. So that is the one of the workflows we have in our
Mhm.
SDK, which we use related to AI.
Mhm.
Then the second thing, obviously, using Cursor AI and J pilots and everything, that is a very common thing which we every developer have. So we
Mhm.
prefer everyone to not to use VS Code and shift to Cursor AI who
Mhm.
are using VS Codes. And for those who are not using VS Codes, like for Xcode and Android Studio, we prefer
Mhm.
to use the Copilots. And for
Mhm.
Xcode, we came to a extension which help you write coding cursor and then automatically do a live editing in Xcode.
Mhm.
So for everything, we prefer doing by AI. So that
Mhm.
is the
Mhm.
yeah.
Like the thinking, my thinking was behind AI was that I've asked a lot of people around AI and how it is being used in our industry in general. I think that code itself is a very intellectual property and cannot be treated in general with like chat gpt and treated into like the code cannot be copy pasted directly into the chat gpt timeline here and there. So like how do you navigate your code? Do you have your own local LLMs to uh, answer certain questions, or do you use general ChatGPT timeline?
We right now use general ChatGPT. We
Yeah.
don't have a local LM running. So the thing, like I told you, for documentations, we have built the custom builders using ChatGPT. We had
Hmm.
enterprise level subscription, which everyone developer will have one as per the team stack. So that
Hmm.
is the custom GPT we have built.
Hmm.
So we have restricted the hallucination and everything to that particular
Hmm.
context which we have shared, which is a code base for document.
Hmm.
Regarding the code, what we try to do is we like for example, I was telling you those web sockets when I was in the earlier I was talking about one.
Hmm.
So what I did was like, since I have to write the architecture, so I started like very simple prompts with GPT, like I want to build a real-time application using this on my
Hmm.
Android SDK. Help me construct an architect. So
Hmm.
by just using the ideas, so not the exact code can be done since
Hmm.
the LLMs and everything, the IP which you stated. So
Hmm.
by you can just get an idea for it, and then you
Hmm.
can just copy paste the raw code and just mold it as per our requirements. That is
Hmm.
the one part of the thing which we do. The second part of the very like, I would say, which the things which doesn't come in the IP section, like views, the
Hmm.
generating, like we can just click a screenshot of the Figma file, upload it to a Cursor AI or
Hmm.
a Copilot and paste it, and it will generate the view. So those type
Hmm.
of things which are very time consuming and not
Hmm.
so much iterated can be done by AI. So we
Hmm.
try to post like the business logic, we write it on ourselves,
Hmm.
just taking help of certain things like optimizations and everything.
Hmm.
But the like creating model classes, creating views, XML views,
Hmm.
those type of things are done by AI.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Like, what do you think about like AI in general? Like, because I am thinking like most of the things that are junior or intern level developer was doing was actually being the AI is doing now, right? Now, here comes the part of leverage, like how much leverage as a developer you have. Because as an intern, you might not have a lot of leverage and accountability in a company. But what if I want to start? I want to join this company. I want to have a lot more accountability. I want to become better. But AI already does my job. How do I become better than an AI and actually maybe leverage the AI itself to produce a good output for the company?
So being better than AI is a bit like complicated task in my views.
Mm-hmm.
So what in my views, what AI, so AI needs reviewing. It can generate a stuff, it can generate code, it can jump text, well, everything, but it
Mm-hmm.
needs a reviewer on your end part of it, which is the human reviewer.
Mm-hmm.
So which needs like, let's take an example of the WebSocket one I was giving. It
Mm-hmm.
generated many of the code, like you can do this, you can do this, but you can do this. But
Mm-hmm.
me as a developer who has the knowledge and the like of my code base and the experience I hold, I know which part of the code I want to use and which part of the code I don't want to use.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my view, the intern
Mm-hmm.
who wants to be more accountable than an AI needs to know that part, like which will be useful for that.
Mm-hmm.
In I would say in future the AI will also be able to do that. When the AI like talking in the exact technical terms, when the AI will like summarize the whole code, convert it into vector embeddings, and then do stuff in your code base,
Mm-hmm.
that part of the thing, then the intern jobs or the everything will be and then won't be useful. They won't be accountable with AI. But it's I
Mm-hmm.
would say it's still in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But as of now, that intern needs to like do good reviewing and seek knowledge from that AI and implement it in the code base.
Mm-hmm.
In that way, he can be more accountable than an AI.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Like drawing the differentiation between how an AI writes the code versus how an intern would write the code. Here would be that the intern would need to actually study through the whole code base and the flow of every function connecting to another function. The AI does lacks the context of the whole code base and modules, and that draws the differentiation between good intern and a normal AI like ChatGPT. And
Correct.
I guess in the future as well, like from like next 5 years from now, when the AI can have a good context, and maybe we have local LLMs everywhere where they have the context of the full code base into our companies, and we're not using general timelines like ChatGPT. Um, there might be the case where developers have a lot more specified knowledge for themselves. That's what I'm thinking, at least, that they have through the years of their experience and through generally trying by trial and error, the developer understands what kind of particular code will work and what kind of code will not work in general. For example, let's just say that there might be an efficient way to write the similar code that AI would have written in a very different manner, because a code can be written in too many different manners. So
Correct.
that's what I'm thinking, that with a good developer might be someone who has a very specified knowledge of how to design this code in a manner that is much more readable in the future, so that the local LLM has more context of this code, and the code itself becomes more extensible and maintainable. That's my thinking, at least. um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it also depends on how the code base is written. Like if
Mm,
like you are taking like for example an intern joins right now and like when this doing.
mm,
So we as a workflow, what we have done is like we make sure that every code is documented properly in code comments as well. Every
mm,
function should have comments, every step by step commenting should be mentioned. So
mm,
if that is mentioned, like that also depends like how the code base is maintained. That is a very crucial part of it as well.
mm,
So if the code base is well maintained and any intern who comes just new to it and start writing the code can do that if he
mm,
has good basics cleared. And
mm,
same goes with AI as well, because when he's reading the particular code base and then doing the patch and adding new functionality, he can do that as well because the code is commented.
mm,
So I would say that all these things also depends on how the code base is maintained.
mm, mm, mm. I get it. Like what I'm thinking again and again by drawing, like I was reading this book yesterday called Almanac of Naval Ravikant. If you've heard about Naval Ravikant, he is an investor, seed investor, and what he was talking about in general was like specific knowledge. It means like let's just say that a developer might have a interest in microeconomics as well as coding. So this is a very specified knowledge. Not everyone has interest in microeconomics and coding. So he can draw a very good connection between these two. Whereas if we ask ChatGPT to draw these connections, it might not know how to do it because
Correct.
it's very difficult to understand a problem, look at it, and try to draw different connections between the knowledge that you have in general, and then give the chat gpt what a specific question and try to solve a problem with it. That's what I'm thinking at least will be the future or the future work of every developer or coder out there in like in next 7-10 years from now. But yeah, hopefully things change for the better and we can write more code and produce more products in the future. That's what I'm thinking at least. Yeah. Other than that, I just wanted to ask about like app industry in general. Where do you think app development industry is headed right now? Is it a downfall? Is it upward? What do you think?
So like the recent term which came around is the vibe coding. I would say
Mm-hmm.
it is going up. So just a single prompt, you can generate the whole app and everything. Like
Mm-hmm.
the vibe coding, by introducing the vibe coding, that these platforms Lovable, Replit, Bolt,
Mm-hmm.
V0, I would say the new apps can be just generated within a 10-minute prompt and doing just a brainstorm session. Like I would suggest, like if you and me are talking, if we come account just a simple problem statement, we can develop an app with the 10 minutes, but just a single prompt. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say the app industry is going up,
Mm-hmm.
and with the help of AI, it is definitely going up.
Mm-hmm. I think in specifically, like I've seen and observed that uh, like Zomato, Swiggy in general, these companies weren't around, not being used like Zepto even, and other mobile-based platforms weren't around being used in like 5 years from now, and they have been developed and become like the part of a day-to-day lives more and more and more. And a lot of people have got accustomed to how Zepto works, how Blinkit works, and all of them are mobile-based platforms, and they're earning a lot of money, and there's a lot of free flow cash here. That's what I'm thinking, at least that apps have become a major real estate in everyone's life because everybody has a phone, and it is a practical real estate bought with 100% attention because app has your 100% attention, no distractions at all. With websites, it's another thing because you have a lot of ads and you have distractions, but in app you own the 100% of equity there.
Correct.
And
100%.
and
100%.
that's what I'm thinking, that apps have a lot of attention, and attention is practically money in today's manner. That's why I'm again and again thinking about this particular trend that I think in the next 5 years at least, app development journey, app development will go up. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
And yeah.
like in this very simple term, I would say for each and every use case of your life, there will be an app like
Mm-hmm.
which can do things mm, like for example, like take 2-3 years back, who would have imagined like there will be a thing as quick commerce.
Mm-hmm.
So app development will be a thing and will grow up and up. I would say there will be no downfall here.
Mm-hmm. I get it. I get it. Like, do you have any specific thing that you have found super hard to do in your like while in your career, and like this specific thing was so interesting that you want to share it right now?
Specific thing which I would say interesting. So as I told you, so while the pivot was happening for B2C app to a B2B platform SDK,
Mm-hmm.
so one of the most interesting thing like what I was able to achieve was that the architecture of the whole SDK. So
Mm-hmm.
as I told, the whole SDK is customizable. Each screen is like modular. You can, if you don't want the whole SDK and just want a single screen for our
Mm-hmm.
SDK, you can use that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So constructing this SDK, the whole architecture of the SDK, like how will be the data flow will be there, how we will maintain. Like you can do anything. You want the whole SDK, you want just a screen, you just want a single part of the code,
mm,
doable. That's doable. So how a, a developer who is using our SDK will
mm,
will be able to achieve that? That was the most like challenging thing which I like figured out, and I
mm,
was able to achieve that in all the five stacks, I would say. So
mm,
this is one of the things I would say like the most interesting part was it. Like
mm,
as I'm talking to him, remembering the part when I was like constructing the whole architecture and the thing, it took almost like I would say quarter in the
mm,
whole all the five stacks to build a
mm,
structure.
mm,
So that was an interesting thing because I came from an Android platform based
mm,
and all the other stacks like iOS, Flutter, React, and React Native
mm,
are of different. Like the core structure is different. Like
mm,
Flutter is declarative that uses that JS and as well as React Native, React JS as well as React Native.
mm,
iOS has also some different kind of structure and different kind of architecture is used. So
mm,
to first of all to learn those things, like
mm,
to learn basics of iOS, basics of Flutter,
mm,
and then structure that into an SDK
mm,
and make it at this level, achieve this level of customization was a challenge.
mm,
And that was the most like I would say the interesting part as well. Like I was able to achieve that. So
mm,
that like I would say the most best achievement I would say.
mm, mm. Like, how did you structure in general? Because if like being an Android developer, I cannot imagine how do you even build an SDK that works with every flight platform. It becomes unfathomable. That's what I can say. Like, did you expose? Does it work with some kind of APIs being exposed into the Flutter?
So
How does it work?
all the five stacks are different in that are coded in their languages only.
Mm,
Android is in Kotlin, iOS is Swift, Flutter in Dart, and React JS and React Native in TypeScript.
mm,
So we have one backend which do the whole. We have the all the API which behind the GW token. So
mm,
we have on data layer which we internally call it data layer, but you can call it a wrapper of the APIs. That's just
mm,
the function which call the API and handles all the local handling and local data for the
mm,
SDK. And then comes one another layer, which is the core layer, which we call as the core layer, which
mm,
comprises of the UI components, screens, and the business logic and the state management.
mm,
So by doing compiling all the everything, so that way we structured the whole SDK. So like you just add the dependency in irrespective of the stack. Like for example, you from Flutter you can add it from PubDev. You add the dependency, just
mm,
write 2-3 steps of code, and the whole SDK will go. So
mm,
in that way, we have structured the SDK. Like we say in LikeMinds, you can add a chat infra just like WhatsApp in your app within 15 minutes.
mm, mm,
So that's our goal. So we have achieved like 550 minutes many times.
mm. Super interesting stuff. Like if I want to learn more about how to build my own SDK, or maybe in general, I just want to learn how to even get that kind of skill. Do you have any like blogs or YouTube videos that you can point to exactly?
Okay, so what we have done is like first of all we have followed basic documentation given by all the stacks. Like there is an official documentation in Android as well how to build an
Mm,
Android documentation developer. We have read those,
mm,
and we have studied the documentation of a very popular stacks libraries in the individual stacks as well. So
mm,
like for example in Android we studied the code how retrofit works, how
mm,
OKSTPP work, like
mm,
these kind of SDKs. We in iOS we studied Aloma Fire
mm,
and iOS and every stacks we have learned this, and we also like studied and observed the our competitors as well. So
mm,
we have a competitor as a Stream Chat, so that's an
mm,
open source SDK. So we studied their code as well, and then pick the best of the ideas and implemented our
mm,
knowledge as well, and then build this SDK. So
mm,
as far as the blogs, we don't have like read about the blogs or every their videos and all,
mm,
but in general we have just like see what the market is doing
mm,
and pick the best of the things and apply our knowledge as well.
Mm-hmm. Super interesting stuff. Um, yeah, that was some of the interesting stuff that I wanted to ask, and I was curious about. I also kind of wanted to go on a little bit of tangent and talk about like hybrid apps versus native apps here, because I've seen a lot of differentiation between these two, Flutter versus native Android in general. Have you seen, like in your day-to-day career, have you seen the differences in performance between Flutter hybrid apps versus the native iOS and Android apps?
100% there is a huge performance gap, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So hybrid apps can, like, I would say the companies who are working on hybrid apps, they want to, like, what I used to think is, like, I have a very common thing of, in companies where tech is drive, there is a tech is a driver. Like every decision is taken by the tech. It is tech first, then business second, then they must should have a native app, because the native app will give you the performance which is required.
Mm-hmm.
And in business, in companies where the decisions are business first, they want a quick integration, quick impact, they will have a hybrid app,
Mm-hmm.
because in coding hybrid is quick. Like building a React Native app and a Flutter app is a very quick thing, because they are like declarative in nature. The UI is declarative. You just try to read the dark code. Now Android is also coming as Compose is there, but I would say still the hybrid Flutter is preferred for over Compose. So there is a, obviously the performance gap is there,
Mm-hmm.
and like hybrid apps lacks the performances, and somewhat like down the course any company will shift to high native.
Mm-hmm.
They will migrate. I don't think they will continue their apps on hybrid, like once they reach a certain milestone
Mm-hmm.
or a certain level.
I get it. Like one of the things that I've seen with like not performance wise, but hybrid apps is that they are very big in size as compared to what natives app are, because nobody would like to download an expense tracker who is like 200
But,
MB.
but say that size is not a big thing in day to day, like these days.
Mm-hmm.
Like of course, when we have an app, like one of the basic things, like in a very like low, I would say low cost devices, 128 GB is the bare minimum which we get.
Mm-hmm.
So if I won't say the app size makes an issue as per these days. This is a general trend which I have seen. The
Mm-hmm.
app size doesn't matter, because
Mm-hmm.
you can see if you download even Zomato right off now. I'm not sure about the device, but it is around 200 MB.
Okay.
So size is not an issue, but the performance is one of the bigger thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, I would say, see, since we are in a chat info, so we have to load a chat screen where the lakhs and lakhs of messages are there.
Mm-hmm.
So while scrolling between an Android and a React Native app, I could see a, like after doing all the optimizations, all the possible things in a React Native app, we are still able to achieve a better score performance in Android over React Native.
Mm-hmm. I
So
get it. I get it.
performance is will the performance gap is still there.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Understand. Do you have any personal apps released in the public right now, or do you plan to, pick an entrepreneurial path somewhere down the line? Maybe start your own app somewhere like that.
Not as of now, to be very honest, and not as
Mm-hmm.
of my thought of it.
Mm-hmm.
And same, like I've done 2 3 basic projects in my college life,
Mm-hmm.
and that was just the hackathon projects. But like uh, we initially thought it to make it and converting into a startup, but when we talked to some people and all, they would say it's not a viable solution. It's not someone will make money. So
Mm-hmm.
that is why we dropped it and like focused on jobs.
Mm-hmm. I get it. I get it. These were some of the tangential questions I wanted to ask. Again, back to some of the processes. Like for example, a lot of people who wants to get into app development industry in general, Android development in general. Do you, by the way, do you take interviews for SD1, SD2? Have you taken some interviews?
Yeah. While I was a tech lead, I take still take now. for
Mhm.
all the unrelated interviews I take now. The
Mhm.
first round, I don't take the first round as of now.
Mhm.
Earlier, I used to take the first round. The
Mhm.
second round, I take
Mhm.
one.
Mhm. Do you have any advice for the interview process of people who are just like SD ones? How to get into the interview process and how to pass it actually? That's what I want to ask.
Sure. Okay. So, like the trend which I've recently seen in the college students, which I would say,
Mm,
they don't focus on basics.
mm,
They just like, I would say that some like I don't know, it's a generation thing or a Gen Z thing, or I don't know what is the thing. I'm not able to catch that.
mhm,
Just like the new generation, the new college students are there. They're just trying to reach into the advanced level very
mm,
quickly. Like like I was 1 or 2 year back, I was doing one like a mentee session for one of my juniors in college. Like he was just started learning C++ and Java. He was talking like how I should develop ML, like how will I get into ML and AI and everything, data science. And I said to him, you just first cover your basics, then think about this stuff. So what I've seen while taking interviews as well, that college students don't focus on basics. They write this thing. I've built this app on in your resumes. I've built up using this, because what is the thing is implementing a simple authentication using Firebase is very quick. Just need to follow 5 6 steps or based on Firebase authentications. But the thing is, they just do that and write it in the resume. They don't go into deep, like what this function is doing, what are the other alternatives can be there. Like they don't cross question that particular thing. They just follow it. So grasping those basics and doing those cross questions, like what if I do this, what if I do this, what I want to do this instead of this. And like I maybe it's a wrong path, you will get a compile error or an exception or anything, but you have to explore. Like that is the one of the things which I've seen in those recent things. Like they don't focus on basic, like a very basic question on like Android life cycle, like activity life cycle. Like everybody knows the function names, but I when like uh, I ask what is the difference between us two points, like an on stop and an on pause. They
mm,
don't know.
mm,
They don't when an on pause is called, when an on stop is called.
mm.
So these type of things, the basics, which create an exception between an excellent developer and an average developer, are missing these days. Earlier, what it used to be like when I was learning this,
Mm,
we used to focus these on things. So I would say there may be a generation gap as well. Like
mm,
we focus on basics, like at least learn some basics and then move to the advanced part. But
mm.
as that advanced part will cover those basics.
Get it. Uh,
Learning basics is very important.
from the response I have got, I've understood is like again, it's all about foundations and the specific knowledge. If you have good foundations, what happens is in future when you're learning about maybe performance, you're learning about maybe some kind of very deep into recycler view somewhere down the line. These foundations will actually help you why inline and refi that like work together. If you have very good foundations, it will actually help you build a lot of specific knowledge and help you align, solve the problems that you actually want to solve without the help of an AI. And that actually differentiates you from general chat GPT, because it can also spit out what is on stop on what is on pause. But the differentiation is how do you use. And I've seen that particularly that it was yesterday, like I'm kind of building my own app and I was using Firebase authentication because I do not know backend. And I was using Firebase authentication, but here's the thing that following Firebase authentication in a very general project is very easy. You make Firebase authentication into a simple app and just a button press and you authenticate with it. It's very easy. But when you try to structure it in a full-fledged app that you want to release in public, and it has a lot of different features inside of it already, what happens is it becomes very difficult to how maybe let's just say the activity context will flow from the compose to the authentication manager, because a credential manager requires an activity context to work. So the flow of this thing without actually causing a memory leak is comes from the basic knowledge that okay, if I just say activity context and do not clear it, it will actually give me memory leak. I need to somehow clear it before using it. So
Correct.
um, that's what I'm thinking constantly, that um, I need to clear up my basics. I need to clear up my basics, and um that's the difference between a good developer and a average developer.
Correct. So here in LikeMinds, what we usually do while interviewing, so we have a very clear structure. The first round is theoretical only. There is no coding round. So in the first round, which we do is we just take these basic questions in irrespective of the stack. We try to find these trick questions which will tell us like what is the level of basic skills he has cleared. Like you
Mm,
told an example of recycler view.
mm,
So like I when I try to interview a candidate, my 5 to 6 questions they are based on recycler view. Like what is the
mm,
difference between on mine and on create?
mm,
If I'm scrolling a list of 100 items, how many times create view will be called and on how many times on mine will be called? So I ask these types of questions because these questions will let me know like how the basics are of that candidate is. And
mm,
as you told me, like the context thing. So these are the use cases which will make a basic app into a great app, which will have a huge UI and experience. Performance is excellent. Perform UI UX is very good. So these types of apps, that is the difference.
I
Because
get it.
a PM or a of UI UX designer will tell you like you have to navigate to this screen using an animation.
Mm,
But how the efficient is the animation is will be told will be written by the developer who has his basis correct.
mm, I agree. I agree. Do you like in general? Do you enjoy XML a lot or Compose a lot? Have you like used? What do you use more often?
So I have a very slight knowledge of Compose. I don't like I have like I wanted to learn Compose, but I enjoy XML a lot because
Mm,
I would say it gives a better picture of the UI which needs to be shown in the app on the
mm,
mobile screen. So I prefer XML over Compose.
mm. It's a very general question because I prefer Compose over XML, but depends because I come from like I have just started working and I enjoy declarative way of using things, and I previously used Flutter as well. So Compose draws my attention, and here comes XML also is in XML is being used, and I need to. That's why I have both the knowledge of good Compose
Older
and
thing is XML. So the legacy apps which are currently like alive on many of the Play stores will be using XML. I'm not sure, and I would say I'm not sure about the percent. I would say 2-3% will are trying to migrate to like from XML to Compose.
Mhm,
In my knowledge, but I would say XML still rules. So new apps who are creating us, who are starting new companies and starting new apps and
mhm,
creating new apps will try and compose. But
mhm,
the legacy apps which are like have lakhs and lakhs of files and huge databases, code bases will not be like
mhm,
migrating to compose like in a recent future.
mhm. I agree to that point. Yeah, these were all the questions that I had related to engineering in general. I kind of want to shift here to a little bit of personal finances and talk about that. Like, I just want to ask, like, whenever you get your salary, uh, how do you divide it in general? Like, what percentage of salary goes into your rent, your other stuff, some kind of guilt-free spending? Maybe you just want to buy a mechanical keyboard today, or how much do you want to invest and save? How do you do that? How do you
So
divide
I
them?
thought like I haven't calculated in terms of percentage as of now, and I'm like I have like divided my like what I do is like any end of month before my salary is credited. What I do is I'll divide my expenses of the next coming month into three parts. One is the fixed ones, which will cover my EMIs, my EMIs or my I live with my parents in Delhi, so
Mm,
I don't have a rent.
mm,
So my fixed cost, like I do it in fixed cost. My fixed cost will cover like EMIs,
mm,
my SIPs, and my stocks, which are like basically like if I said I buy X amount of shares, like that is a fixed amount which I'll say.
Mm,
Then comes the variable part of it. That variables are usually my credit card bills, which in credit cards, what I do is I cover most of the things like my guilt shopping, my fuel, because other than anything other than the fixed expense, I do via credit cards. So I cover mostly the then. And third part is miscellaneous, which is like which cover like I would say
mm,
very basic amount like five, two, 3,000, five, max 5,000 miscellaneous amount is there,
mm,
and major part of the two, the fixed and the variable.
mhm. Uh,
Because I structured my credit card amounts bills in such a way, like on every 5 to 10 days, my next bill is getting generated. So
mhm,
I've structured my whole like expenses in a way that like I do most of the expenses using my cards.
mhm. I get it. Like what I'm thinking is here's what you I got from your response is that you have a credit card, maybe whatever your credit card is from company, you get some points by actually using it in your day-to-day life. And since you have a lot of maybe your family is dependent on you and other things, you use a credit card to um, do whatever you want, and by the end of the month when your salary gets allotted, you pay off your credit card because you don't want to carry off any kind of uh, interest in the next month.
Correct.
And
Correct.
some of the percentage of that salary goes into stocks and other things, while the other percentage goes into the expenses and other stuff. um
100%.
yeah.
So I haven't calculated the percentage right away, but it will be like come around like around 45 to 50% goes in the fixed ones,
mm,
where EMIs,
mm,
SIPs, and my stocks purchases are coming,
mm,
and the rest I would say around 30 to 35% goes in the variable cost,
mm, 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 mm.
and
Okay.
rest 20% is just for like savings, emergency funds, and everything.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Like, how do you have any particular screeners that your stocks will go through, or do you enjoy most of the time mutual funds, or is it something else?
I follow two strategies. One is the mutual funds. Like I have like six funds, which for monthly SIP I've done it, and rest I try to buy small cases, not
Mm,
direct stocks. I prefer buying small cases
mm-hmm.
because requiring the screeners and everything require a lot of time, dedication to time and knowledge.
100%.
So so I would prefer like when I'm given a facility like you buy this small case and the whole idea is getting purchased like based on a particular idea. The small cases are based on a particular idea. They do the
Mm-hmm.
maths like this is going up, this is going down. They do rebalancing every day,
Mm-hmm.
every quarterly and half yearly. So I try to buy those
Mm-hmm.
using small cases. If any particular stock which is like having good fundamentals based on I would say uh, market, just a basic understanding of the market, I would buy directly from my broker.
Mm-hmm. I get it. I get it. Like in mutual funds in general, do you like follow trends because of like, let's just say budget has been just released and you follow the trend there, or is there a way of picking the mutual funds somewhere down the line? Like,
So
uh,
what I have done is like I've like I myself did a very basic research, but I took a help from my one of my relatives.
mm,
So what I do is I've covered like basic knowledge. It was small cap, mid cap, large cap,
mm,
few debts, and one of I think one is flexi cap. So
mm,
I try to cover all the basics ones,
mm,
and it is like if you have covered all the basics, the trend will automatically be covered in that. So I would like I don't pick trends because like in my perspective is if you pick a trend, it will go fade away in 1 or 2 years. But SAPs will not give you a return in 1 or 2 years. They require more time. So
100%. It's
so
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
that's
It's what I'm like specifically for myself as well. I try to pick up indexes more often. For example, Nifty 50 or whatever the bank index is doing right now, and try to invest in that. That's what my thinking is, because I believe in indexes overall, other than just what, like for example, pharma industry or agriculture industry is doing, because it might soon change depending upon maybe a catastrophe in Thailand somewhere down the line. So that's how I pick strategies personally. Other than that, do you have like what's your instrument for savings as well? Do you enjoy FTs? Do you enjoy bank, just keeping the money in the bank as liquid, or do you enjoy arbitrage funds? What do you think?
Okay, so for saving and my, like I told you, the threshold amount goes for saving and the emergency fund. So I have a separate bank account, which when I will transfer my savings and everything to that. I don't like I when I have a huge amount of it, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like I can do an RD as well. But if I have a huge amount with me, I do an FD and block it for a time. But like if I able to commit it for a particular time, like for example a year or so,
Mm-hmm.
so then I prefer to do an RD, because in past I've done RDs continuously. So then RD is like a monthly installment, kind of an SAP, but it goes in the rate of interest of an FD.
Mm-hmm.
So I like if I'm able to commit for that time, I'll do an RD, and if I huge amount, I do an FD. But if I have a very small amount and it's a variable thing, I do it in a second account.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any like specific guilt-free spending amount that you have right now? That, for example, you want to buy a bike somewhere down the line, or maybe you want to buy a mechanical keyboard that costs around 12,000 rupees in the future. Do you have
So
any
I have a
specific?
mechanical keyboard already, so I
Yeah,
don't want to buy that.
yeah.
So that guilt free, that depends like what I want to buy. As of now, I don't have any kind of a wish list
Mm,
as of now. But like if that is like there, so if I have to buy, like what I do is like I buy it on EMIs if that is the case.
mm,
So my strategy is like for example, I had to buy my phone. I have a Pixel 8,
mm,
so I have to buy it. So what I was that time what I do it. So I have the amount for Pixel 8 on my phone on my account, and I did it by using EMIs, and I put the rest of amount in kind of a saving RD on FD.
mm,
So every month, the amount, like for example, I had a EMI of 9,000 rupees.
mm,
So I was getting credited with interest, the 9,000 plus few interest, and then used to pay the EMI. So I had the whole amount in my account, but I didn't buy it from my account. I buy it from a credit card and convert it into EMIs.
mm, mm, mm.
So that is why I do my guild shopping.
Okay, okay. Understandable. Like, do you have other than that, do you have like insurances purchased for yourselves, like health insurance, life insurance, something like that?
I have both. I have a health insurance as well as a life insurance.
Do you have any like specific advice? Because I've seen a lot of people will depend upon just like health insurance given by the company rather than buying their
I
own.
don't- So like we in LikeMinds we don't have one that. So I have bought it for myself,
Mm,
and because so what I thought is many of my like relatives as well as seniors recommended me that before investing
mm,
into the market, you should protect yourself first.
mm,
So
100%.
before investing anything, like even like before I had a demat account,
Mm,
I first of all bought myself a life insurance,
mm,
which I paid monthly,
mm,
and health insurance which I pay annually. So
mm,
that I covered. And then I started investing.
mm. I get it. It's a super interesting stuff, and a lot of people don't do that. Like without insurances, most of the stuff isn't protected. So I guess that's super important. Yeah, these were all the questions from my side. Um, yeah, thank you for coming on, and thank you for giving your advice. Um, yeah,
Yeah, it was a great chat. So I had a good chat with you.
yeah,
So yeah.
thank you. Hello, hello, welcome back. Hopefully, you guys really enjoyed this podcast. And if you did, you know what to do, like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you for watching.